Hi, my name's Scott. I'm an addict. If you're sitting in a room of cocaine and anonymous tonight, you've probably fucked up more things than you can count. So please don't hold me in too high a regard today. I'd like to start off by thanking the committee for putting this on. I know it takes a lot of work to put on any event, never mind something with a full day and an auction and 2 meals and the whole thing. So I'd like to give a round of applause to you guys. It really is a lot of work having to deal with all you idiots all the time. It's just been my personal experience that trying to herd cats is fucking insane. So thank you for having me, and thank you for putting this on. Honestly, I have no idea what's going to come out here tonight. I know my story, obviously, but you know how you get sober and then everyone starts pumping you full of speaker tapes, and you're driving around, you're going to meetings, and you're kind of lit up, and you're listening to all these speakers, you're like, man, that guy was fucking fire, I love that guy. And then maybe you go to a convention and you hear that somebody's tape is going to be there, and you're just super psyched to hear what they got to say, and then you get there and literally you have already heard what they have to say because you love this tape so much, you've listened to it 3 or 4 times, and then you go to the convention and you have a nice dinner and you meet some people, and then the dude gets on, and you might as well just put the damn speaker tape on because it's the exact same thing. And I'm not that guy. I really like the Joker because he has no official origin story, and I'm one of those kind of addicts that I don't really know exactly what happened all the time. There's a lot of big gaps in my story, in my mind. If we talk about grade 8, 9, 10, 10, 10, 11, the 6 years of high school that I never graduated from, honestly, when I finally run into people that I went to school with, they're like, man, you remember that party? And then you were dancing on the pool table, and then we had to go outside and meet the guy with all the booze. And I'm like, no, I don't fucking... It sounds like we had a really good time, but I just have a lot of gaps in my memory that I just don't know, right? So maybe one day we'll get to do this again together, and maybe I'll be on the stage telling you guys a bunch of other lies, and it'll be a completely different story for you, so please don't hold that against me. I guess we start at the beginning, right? So most people have some really good memories of their childhood. Going on camping trips or big family birthdays, and I have those too. But my most clear memories from when I was a child are things like stealing my friend's G.I. Joe before he went home, and him being traumatized because he can't find it, and then me helping him look for his fucking G.I. Joe for an hour, and then him going home, my parents finding it and being like, why is G.I. Joe here still? And making up a bunch of lies as to what happened. Does that sound familiar to anybody? I've been training myself to be a drug addict my whole life. I didn't know. It's just the way you're supposed to do. I was just going through a phase for elementary school when my parents would tell me to please just come home after school so you can have a snack, and then you can get on your bike, you can go play with your friends. But I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't even call. I would just go home eventually when the streetlights came on, because I'm old enough that you were allowed to do that still, and they would freak out every single time because they had no idea where I was, and I just couldn't comprehend, or more likely didn't really care that they were worried about me. I just wanted to do what I wanted to do when I wanted to do it at a very young age. If we fast forward that to, let's say, I guess it'd be my 3rd year of high school, first year of grade 10 anyway, and you laugh, but I was there for 3 years because I made 7 classes, literally. I made 7 classes in the first 2 years of grade 10, and I was too busy smoking weed and sipping on gin and juice and rolling around in our fucking 92 Toyota Tercel with bald tires because, like, man, rap music made me do it. I'm telling you, I was already a not good kid by the time Dr. Dre dropped The Chronic and Snoop Doggy Dogg came out with Doggy Style. But I'm telling you, there are certain moments in your life that I'm sure you remember for yourself, and that is one for me. And that summer, like, I just couldn't stay out of Bear Creek Park because the most important thing to me was to steal a bunch of money from my parents' room so I could go get a 40 of OE because I'm gangster like that, don't you know? And a bunch of weed and just fuck around all night. I apologize for my cursing. I know this is going to be blanked out, but I was told that as long as I have less swear words than Devin, then we'll be okay. So, so that was my life, really. All I wanted to do was just smoke weed every day and drink and just hang out until God knows what time. And I tried to do that for a really long time. I wasn't responsible enough to hold a job or to even want a job. So my best idea on how to survive in life was to steal cars and break into houses. If anybody has tried this before, it's probably a little more difficult nowadays. Everyone's got a fucking alarm and like push to start. You gotta actually break into the house to steal our keys to get in the car, to steal the car now, I imagine. But back then it was a lot easier. People were actually going on vacation and like you could just go steal their TV and all the booze out of their house and have a good time for a few days. And that's all I did for about 3 years. I got to be 18, 19 years old, and I still hadn't tried cocaine at this point in time. It was all weed and acid and mushrooms and alcohol, and I was pretty happy. I was pretty happy with it. You know, my parents weren't happy, and my brother, the golden child, he wasn't super happy with me either. But I felt fine. You know, if I could just get people to kind of just leave me alone and stop annoying me and wanting me to be responsible and shit all the time, then it would be better. But I survived. One day, roughly 20 years old, I heard from some people that I went to high school with that I remembered them, but I told you, I didn't really remember most of the stories. And it was my friend Gary's birthday, and they were putting on a birthday party, and they hadn't seen me in years, and they were really hoping that I could come by and we could hang out. So, what else are you going to do, man? You're going to invite me to a party. Guess what I'm doing? I'm going to a fucking party, man. And that's what I did. And I met the love of my life at this party. She yelled at me for 2 hours while we were playing cards and drinking, and I couldn't get enough. It was fantastic. She ended up being the mother of my child, and I tricked her into marrying me and buying a house and getting a dog and building the fence and trying to manage my life as best as humanly possible. I didn't think about needing a 12-step program, or I didn't even think about needing to quit drinking. Why I thought about, fuck, I got another 24-hour suspension, and I gotta get my wife to drive me to the fucking police station so I can get my car back, my license back, because if I try to take my car there without my license, she's gonna freak out on me and like just jump through the hoop, take all my big piles of shit and just try to make one pile of shit again and just hope that it stays there this time because it's warm and comfortable and it's familiar. And I did that for a really long time. And it was just every day, just slogging in the mud over and over and over again until until January 16th of the year 2000 when my dad died. And he'd been in the hospital for a little bit. And he was an alcoholic. I didn't know that. I had no clue. I knew he drank too much. I knew that when I was a child. I mean, I'm of the vintage that there was no such thing as a remote control because that was my job. Go up and change the channel, Scott. And my other job was on your way back, grab my empty beer and go get me another one. That's all I knew. And I knew that one day I wanted to be able to outdrink him. That was also one of my goals. But by the time I was even able to keep up with him, he ended up in a coma and ended up in the hospital. He passed away in the year 2000. And now you guys are all here. This is anybody's first rodeo, Cocaine Anonymous, your first time sober, like never relapsed, never tried to do this before? Yeah? Well, you might not understand, but you have that very clear mental image that I need to be a responsible human being, and I don't know why I'm not drinking and using drugs. Like, I had that at this time. I had that moment of clarity that is talked about that should hopefully, in this portion of my story, get me to the point of recovery, but surprise, it doesn't. So I was able to pull my shit together for a couple of months at least, and be there for my dad in the hospital, be there for my family, be there for my mom. And she was so grateful that I wasn't off being a fucking piece of shit, that every day she would just tell me, thank you. Thank you for being here for me. Thank you for being here for your father. This is the most responsible I've ever seen you in your entire life. And if anybody knows me, I just do not deal with positivity very well. Even today, I would much rather if you guys had just fucking booed me when I came up here so I could feel comfortable enough to get started with this goddamn story. But back then, I had absolutely nothing, and it was very uncomfortable. And on June 16th, my dad had been really struggling in the hospital there. My mom had been there since day one and just wouldn't go home, and I got to convince her finally to go home. And of course, I'm sure you can see where this story's going. That was the day my dad finally decided that he could go. Right? He had hung on long enough, and I think that he was just kind of hanging on long enough so my mom didn't have to be there. Right? I told him, don't worry. I will step up and I'll take care of her. Everything is going to be okay. Please just do what you have to do to get better. And I shit you not, that was it. I finished the sentence and he left. And I couldn't handle it, dude. I just couldn't. I can't even handle it right now. I'm just trying to stall for time so I don't break down and cry in front of you because that's not gangster. Get out of here, man. He passed away, and life didn't get any better. I lost that willingness to be a responsible human being and an upstanding member of my family, and I went on a bit of a tear. Now, I don't have a big fancy story. When Scott goes on a tear, it's really pretty basic. He steals a bunch of money from his parents or his family or somebody, breaks into a house, takes all their shit, smash a window, I get some money, not from a job. And then I just disappear for 3 days to 3 weeks. Usually in a dirty hotel room, usually with some ladies, usually with no pants. So that's pretty much how I use. I get really hot, sweat a lot, bro. Smoke crack, cocaine, and then I sweat like a motherfucker. And I just don't like to have pants. So I don't got a fancy story for you. I don't really have a really high, exciting gangster lifestyle, no matter how badly I wanted it. But that's what I did for a long time. And I was able to somehow get my life together for enough periods of time to achieve some things. And I think that this really dragged out my addiction in my life. You know, up until this point, I still hadn't started smoking crack cocaine, but let me tell you, after the 2000, I was fucking full blown, man. I solved my alcoholism with a pipe, right? You get that glass dick in your mouth, I don't need a bottle. I am totally good. And the race was on. The race to the bottom was on for me. I tried to take some breaks from the race, and I was able to become a plumber. I was able to buy a home. I was able to have all these little check marks that you're supposed to get as a man, right? You're supposed to have a family and a home and a good life. And I was able to keep that facade up for a really long time until one day I just couldn't anymore. It was getting out of hand. Man, you guys know the story, right? You're telling your family everything else except what's really going on. You're trying oh yeah, let's do some family counseling because that's what's going to fix it. It's not that, hey, I smoke crack cocaine every time I leave the house and I really need to get sober. That's not the story I'm telling people. I'm telling people the story that, yeah, I ran into my buddy that lives in Penticton and his car was broken, and so I had to drive him 4 hours to Penticton to get him home because it was desperate. His child was sick. And then I got there and my tire got flat. And I went into the house and there was no way for me to fix the tire that night. And I came out, somebody stole the fucking battery in my car. And you know how the story just gets weirder and weirder? The story, I don't know if, I just can't believe that they were actually buying this shit. But nobody was calling me out on it either, right? The solution at the time was, well, maybe we just need to see some counseling. Maybe we have some problems between us. And I tried that. And guess what? That didn't work. It would work for a small amount of time and I would be able to keep her happy. And we weren't happy. I wasn't happy. I had that fucking, I just need to go out. It's dark and I just need peace. I didn't know that it was obsession at the time because my version of, I'm going to have to call it AA. I didn't even know it was called recovery. I've seen Alcoholics Anonymous on TV a whole bunch of times. It's a bunch of old fuckers sitting in a circle complaining about their life. And that didn't seem appealing to me at all when eventually my doctor would tell me, maybe you have a problem. You keep disappearing for 3 days to 3 weeks, and you're telling us that you've been drinking the whole time and passed out in the park for 2 days. Maybe you should try this Alcoholics Anonymous thing, because we've already given you a bunch of antidepressants, uppers, downers, and none of this seems to help you. And maybe you could go see this doctor in New Westminster. He's an addiction specialist, and he can probably help you with some of your drinking issues, because we don't tell anybody of the other stuff. That's kind of shameful. So, I was willing to do anything at this time to just shut people up, just to get them off my back, because that's what I needed. I knew what I needed for my life. I didn't need to sober up. That's not the problem. The problem is that you guys are fucking annoying. If you just would understand that sometimes I need to go out and get fucked up every once in a while, all would be well. You guys may not have read that book as Scott sees it, but that's pretty much how it goes. So I went to this addictions doctor, and I was hoping, I don't know what I was hoping. I was hoping to hear out how I could successfully use, how I could manage my life and still get what I wanted. And guess what the guy gave me? A fucking meeting list. He had nothing for me. He didn't give me a prescription. He gave me a meeting list, and he said, you need the 12 steps in your life, and you should go to some meetings and find a sponsor and do the 12 steps so you can maybe see that you're a fucking asshole. And I was so offended. Are you kidding me right now? This is all you have for me? This is the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my entire life. And I didn't do any of it. I didn't take any of that advice. I kept that meeting list around. It was an AA meeting list, and because I wasn't using drugs. And I didn't really know what to do. I just thought these people are idiots, right? And the story doesn't get any better. It's the exact same thing. I could just rewind the tape and just tell you exactly what happened again. But near the end, getting to what happened, was I had a different counselor. Now, I've been seeing counselors my entire life because I told you, I've been an asshole since I was 6. And this counselor was not the addictions guy. He was a mental health guy. And one day, I decided, I don't know why, to start telling people that maybe I've been using some drugs. And he's kind of picked up the play on my story here, and he called me a drug addict. And I got up and I threw the chair across his office, and I fucking screamed at him, "How dare you call me a drug addict?" And this is obviously not his first rodeo because he didn't even flinch. And he just asked me, like, what would you call yourself? Why are you even here if you're not a drug addict? And I didn't have an answer. I just didn't. I was just like, for the first time in my entire life that I can remember, I can't remember a lot, but the first time that I could remember, I just didn't have an answer to this simplest question. And that opened the door just enough for me to go to my first AA meeting. Now, it was the scariest thing that has ever happened to me in my entire life. Because I didn't want to go sit in a room with a bunch of old fucks just complaining about their life. You know? Maybe you guys have some of those meetings here. I don't know. It's not been my experience. I showed up at some meeting on Scott Road in a hall, and it was dark, and there was a bunch of sketchy-looking characters outside, and I just didn't know. I didn't know what to do. I knew that the meeting started at 8, and so I needed to be inside at 8 o'clock, and I just kind of waited to watch people go inside the building, and so I did. I was so dumb to recovery, so new, I mean, that I didn't even know the coffee was free. I was dying to drink a fucking coffee. I didn't know how bad it would be either, but I was just dying to drink his coffee because, like, I just needed something to take the edge off, and I just didn't know it was free. So I just kind of rolled in, and I sat in the back, and I just, I guess, tried to pay attention. And a couple of things happened for me. I listened enough to get my fix of old people just complaining about their life and telling me how they got all this stuff back, and I didn't really care because I sort of liked my life and I didn't lose all my stuff yet. And I heard a couple other things, the real basic stuff of 12-step meetings, right? Anybody that's new, please raise your hand. I see some people raise their hand, I raise my hand because I just want to try to blend in and not be noticed, right? Little did I know, they can see you in a fucking meeting and see when you raise your hand because you're a new guy. They had a bunch of people, they asked them to share, would you please like to come up to a podium? I grew up in recovery on podiums, right? Everywhere used to have podiums, and all the meetings I used to go to. This one had a podium. Thank God somebody that was asked to share before me said, no thank you, I'd just like to listen, because I then knew that it was okay to say that, because when they asked me to share, if I hadn't known that loophole, and I got up to that fucking podium and said anything, I have no idea what could have happened at that point. I mean, I could have cried and broke down, and somebody could have taken me under the wing and saved my life and showed me the 12 steps, and I'd probably have 15 or 16 years now. But I said, no, thank you. I'd just like to listen. And then as soon as they got up to do the serenity prayer, I didn't do that because I'm not holding a bunch of dudes' hands. And I just fucking dipped, and that was done. And I was like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. I'm going to go back to that counselor that gave me the fucking meeting list and tell him he's an idiot. And I went home that night, and my wife at the time was crying. She was so happy that I was trying to do something with my life. Like, it was weird. And something just kind of came over me. I was like, yes! This is the answer. I just got to go to some of these meetings every once in a while. Everyone will be happy with me. I can just do whatever I want while I'm being sneaking around, and things will be good, right? No, things were not good. I tried going to a couple other meetings because that's the answer. Just go to meetings, right? If I just go to meetings, then everybody will be happy. Then I will be happy. Then I can just kind of use every once in a while. And the second meeting I ever went to was the worst experience in my entire life of all of recovery, because I rolled in there, I parked the car. They had a goddamn door grater, and he's one of these super jacked up, I really love recovery guys, and I know him. He took me out on my 19th birthday with my dad and got me fucking so drunk at Mugs and Jugs strip bar that I could barely even walk home. And his name is Mel, and he was at the door that day, and I didn't even have to tell him my name because he knew who I was walking up, and I didn't recognize him. You know, if you guys haven't read the book, there's a story in there where a gentleman goes back to see a doctor, and the doctor didn't recognize him anymore, and I didn't recognize this man at the door. He had to tell me who he was. And like, he basically shook my arm right out of the socket because he was so happy to see me there because like, he knew I needed to be there. He knew my old man needed to be there because he was there, right? I now know that he already had a spiritual awakening. He had already had a good life at this time. And he was just trying to carry a message to me so I could do the same thing. But what I got out of him was, oh my God, I can't believe you're here. Thank God you're here. Oh my God, you need some God? You need to come and sit down with me in the chair? Here's some money for the Seventh Tradition. Here's some pamphlets. And I'm like, what the fuck did you guys do to my dad's friend? Like, I don't want anything to do with this. Like, I'm really glad that you're happy with your life, but I don't need your cult. You guys are praying to God, and you've changed this man to somebody that's ridiculous, and now you want me to hold hands again. No, thank you. No, thank you. I will find another loophole and some other way out of this. I don't need your help. And I went home, and then the wife was happy, and she's like, oh my God, I baked cookies. And, what am I going to do? How am I going to get out of this one? You guys' meetings suck. I can't handle my home life, even though, like, she's the happiest she's ever been. Like, it's just the most uncomfortable feeling, not getting my own way. Maybe you can understand. So, my solution is to go to the meeting every week, but don't go in. I'm so dumb, I couldn't figure out that it's the same time and date every day. I could have done anything I wanted from the hours of 7:30 to 9. But I went to the meeting and I sat in the parking lot and watched all the happy people with their happy hugs, and they're going into the meeting and coming out and having a good life, and I'll talk to you later, Jimmy, and having a good day. And I would wait for them to go in, and I'd wait for them to come out, and I would go home, and I would hate my life, and my wife was happy, and you guys were happy, and I'm getting loaded still, and I'm still miserable. What is wrong with this picture? So, you think that we should change the subject? Nah, I just kept doing that. I had nothing left. I just kept going to the stupid-ass parking lot and watching everybody else go to a meeting. I could have been out drinking instead, but no. I'm just trying to make everybody happy enough to leave me alone. So that continues on for honestly way too long. And we get to a day that my favorite counselor called me a drug addict. He worked on the 13th floor of the Gateway high-rise. It means nothing to you guys. It's in Surrey. And they deal with mental health and addictions. And I was attending that from time to time, trying to work through my life, right? Anything besides reading your book and going to your meetings. And one day, I came home from work, and we were supposed to go, me and the wife, and the brand new baby, who, by the way, was a month early, and on the day that he was born, instead of staying at the hospital with them, I had to go to work and smoke crack for 3 days, because I'm a champ like that. We were supposed to go to our friend's house for a barbecue that day, and honestly, I really was tired. To be completely and totally honest, I had a really long day. Like I said, I'm a plumber. I was like just digging around in the shit all day long, and it was disgusting. And I just wanted to have a shower and a nap, and I didn't want to do anything. I was just exhausted until I dropped them off, and I came home and I had my shower. And you know, you get some food in you, and you have a shower, and you kind of feel a little re-energized, and that's how I felt. And I thought, I got like 3 hours till I have to pick him up. I mean, I might as well, I could probably just take $20 and go to the shack down the street and I'll just smoke 20. Then I'll go home and have a nap, because we all have a nap after we smoke a bunch of cocaine. And then I'll go pick him up, right? Perfectly logical. So I did. I broke into the baby's piggy bank, and I took $20 from him. And I walked up the street, and I can remember this quite vividly. I'm sure you guys can remember it too. When you're walking to the house, and like the whole time there, you're like, man, this is probably a bad idea. I shouldn't do this. But like, you just keep going. You're trying to talk yourself out of it. It's like, man, maybe if this light doesn't turn green when I get to it, then I can stop and go around. But it's fucking green, so I just keep going to the light. And I get to the house, I'm like, man, I should not be here. Who is it? It's Scott. And the door opens, and then that just all goes away. Like, that was that day. And I got my 20-piece, and I smoked my 20-piece, and I looked at my watch, and it had taken me a grand total of 17 minutes to get from my house to smoking a 20 rock, and I thought, fuck, I got a lot more time. I can go home and get some more money and do this again, and still get my nap and go get my family. And so that's what I did. I went home, I got the other $200 out of his piggy bank, and I went back with the full intention of just smoking a little bit of crack cocaine so I could pick my family up afterwards. And I stole the car and didn't go home for 3 weeks. It was fucking classy, bro. I did end up on the downtown east side a little bit. I'm not the homeless junkie, I'm the weekend warrior. The shit gets really tough, finally go home and just kind of have 2 days, 3 days to come up with some stories for everybody, and that's what I did. And nobody was happy to see me. Nobody was happy to see me, and one of the first of many ultimatums came up that I needed to get some real fucking help and go to treatment, or, as Jay said, we're done. I talked my way out of that. That was seemed pretty harsh. And I kind of talked my way out of it. It's like, I promise that I'll do better this time, baby, and everything will be okay. And it took me 2 days to burn that to the ground and find myself in that counselor's office with fucking just completely soaked because it was raining and crying my face off because I just didn't know what to do anymore. Again, I stole all the goddamn money of the house. And again, I disappointed my family. And again, I just sold out my whole life for crack cocaine. And I finally felt like a big enough piece of shit that I was able to go see this counselor and be like, okay, dude, what do you got? You got a treatment plan for me? I will take it. It's just today's the day. Today's the day. You better figure it out right now because I don't think I'm going to have this willingness tomorrow. And he's like, Scott, thank God you're here. I do have this for you. And he gave me a phone number and a phone, and he got up to leave the office, and he said, just call these guys. And I said, why am I calling them? Aren't you the counselor? Whoa, you're the doctor. Help a brother out here. And I don't know if this guy was in recovery. It sounds kind of sponsory to me. He made me save my own life. I had to make the phone call. I had to make the appointment. I had to check myself in. And thank God he did, because I probably wouldn't have fucking gone if I didn't. I probably would have just blown it off like I do everything in my entire life. And I had to go home, face the music, once again, with no excuses, and explain exactly what was going on to her. And she wasn't very impressed. And she had to drive me to treatment 2 days from then. I showed up at the house, and it was the second scariest day after that first AA meeting. And I went on my very first trip to treatment, and it was fantastic. To be honest, I got exactly what I was looking for out of treatment. You don't have to go to work. You get some EI. They cook your meals for you. My responsibilities include cleaning a bathroom and going to group in the morning, and I got to go to a meeting, and like Scott's a good boy. Happy, happy, joy, joy. Everybody's happy. My mom's happy that I'm getting help. My wife's happy that I'm getting help. People in meetings are great because there's a new guy, and he seems excited to be here. And it was pretty fantastic. It made 9 new friends, and like we were all kind of in the same boat, and I learned a bunch of new tricks that, did you know, if you're out using and you have a shop vac with you, and instead of actually picking through the carpet for all the pieces, if you just get some pantyhose over the end of it and you vacuum it up that way, then everything comes on the top. That, or sometimes it's tough to get some electricity for your vacuum, but if you just get one of those carpet sweepers, those things are fucking wicked, dude. You just hit everything with the carpet sweeper and it's just like a little Roomba with no electricity. Man, I really love it. I learned a bunch of other things that I probably shouldn't talk about right now because I'm not going to drop my 5 on you, so. This is the first time I was introduced to Cocaine Anonymous. We went to a lot of different meetings. We went to all the fellowships. And one day, a couple of guys said, hey man, we're going to this meeting out in the West, just across the bridge. We're not supposed to go across the bridge because you get in trouble for that, but we don't give a fuck. And we're going to Cocaine Anonymous, and you should come. You're going to love it. There's a bunch of weird dudes and hot chicks. And I was like, yes, please. I am fucking weird dudes and hot chicks. I'm your guy. So I went there, and I don't know, man. I don't think they lied to me, but there was no hot chicks. It was just a bunch of fucking weird dudes. And I was initially disappointed, but I heard something there that I wasn't hearing in the rest of the meetings I was going to, right? The seed was planted. I don't know, man. I got lit on fire. Like, whatever you want to call it, something hit me in a Cocaine Anonymous meeting when a dude was at a podium and he's talking about, hey, did anybody go out and suck dick for cocaine? And like 3 dudes raised their hand in the meeting. And I was like, holy fuck, you guys did that too? Like, I can't fucking believe you guys just admitted that in a room full of people. And man, I love Cocaine Anonymous for that reason, but like, I was like, I need to come back. Like, maybe recovery isn't going to be so bad, right? I wasn't really hearing, I'm sure they were talking about it, but I wasn't really hearing about, you know, like, we need to take you through the steps, and like, you should do some service, and like, you need to change your life. I was hearing all that other fun stuff, and it was good. And I really enjoyed my life in sobriety while living in treatment in my safety bubble where everything was just spoon-fed to me, and it was really easy. And I hung out there for the 90 days, and I went home with a brand new vigor to life because now I had all the answers. Right? I would go to some Cocaine Anonymous meetings and hear some cool things, and meet some sober people, and drink your shitty coffee that I now know is free, and life will be good. I got exactly what I needed out of Cocaine Anonymous and out of recovery. You know, I still attended all the meetings. I did everything I could. I probably should have paid more attention to the family after section of the big book, because looking back on it now, that's exactly what happened to me. I went home and my wife was like, thank God you're sober. Now we need to do this. You have fucked us over for so long. We have so much to catch up on. And to be honest, like, I tried to balance life and recovery because they were apparently separate entities in my mind at that time. And man, it didn't work. If any of you guys are currently attempting to manage your life and your recovery separately, I would implore you to please stop doing that. If you don't have a sponsor to talk to this about, please get one. Talk to me after the meeting. I can give you a lot more details about why this doesn't work, but it really didn't work for me. And surprise, surprise, I didn't give you a date the first time I went to recovery because it's not my fucking clean date. right? I got loaded. And I fucking lied about it. And I took a 6-month chip dirty, and I went back to my recovery house on multiple occasions and told everybody the fantastic life that recovery gives you, even though I wasn't doing anything. I was just doing the easy stuff. I got to hear cool things like, if you just do steps 1, 2, and 3 every day, you will stay clean. I didn't ask what the fuck that meant. I just heard, I don't have to do steps 1 through 12. Sign me up. That sounds a lot easier. You know, people would tell me interesting things about, I'd be willing to do anything for sobriety. If you said I had to take off my shoes and walk across that street covered in broken glass, I would do that to stay sober. And that sounded like pretty powerful. I'm like, that guy is fucking desperate. Like, I can muster up some of that desperation. I didn't understand that doing that, honestly, I feel would be a lot easier than me to walk through the 12 steps and change my life the way that I had to do. Because I would have been willing to do that at one point in time, if that's all it would have taken for me to be sober and change my life and have a good life, you know. But that didn't work out, man. Eventually I got loaded, once again. And on June 18th, 2006, was the last day that I did. I'm in a dirty-ass hotel room. If anybody's been to Surrey, it's on the corner of 108th and King George Highway. It's called The Bird. It is the fucking worst strip bar you have ever been to in your entire life. It's like, the only place with worse beer is the fucking Dell. And like, you have to drink 2 pints of beer there just to get them down to get past the taste. So I was in the dirtiest ass hotel room I've ever been in my entire life. And yes, I had no pants. Yes, I had a whole bunch of pornography everywhere. Yes, I was stuck on the bed crying because I couldn't get one more push out of that fucking pipe. You ever had that desperation, that dying, oh my God, what is wrong with me? And the only answer I had in this one moment of clarity, it was the Father's Day weekend. And I was supposed to be with my son. Because by now I've been kicked out of the house. And I'm living at my mom's house at 30 years old. Super honorable. I felt really good about that. And I'm supposed to have my weekend with my son on our Father's Day. And I'm smoking crack in a fucking dirty ass hotel room. Yet again, disappointing my family and burning my life to the ground. And something happened. You look around and you're like, God touched me. Something came and I was like, what am I doing here again? Like, how did this happen again? And you ever make the big show about getting cleaned up? This time I was like, I'm throwing all this stuff away and I'm fucking throwing the bottles out the window and breaking my pipe and I gotta get out of here. I gotta change my life. And I was serious. This was it, man. I am a fucking drug addict and I need some help. And man, I don't know what happened. The World Cup was on and Brazil was playing and there was like 8 minutes to go in the half. And I was getting the fuck out of there because fuck drugs. And then, the next thing I know, I'm back on the bed, and I still have no pants, and I've got broken pieces of pipe and Brillo everywhere, and the game is now over, and I just don't understand what am I still doing here after all this work and effort to just get out of this damn hotel room. And I was scared. I was more scared than I was at that first AA meeting. I was more scared than the first time I stole my friend's G.I. Joe. I was scared because like I was a drug addict, just like that asshole told me. And I only answer I had was to go back to that treatment center and just hope that they could do something for me. So that's what I did. I rolled in, and it was in the middle of group, and everybody was first really happy to see me because I was just there not too long ago telling them the virtues of recovery in 12-step meetings. And after a few days run and walking in completely pooped right out, begging for help, they weren't so impressed with me anymore. And the counselor, his name is Bill. At the time, he had 20 years of sobriety, and he tried his damnedest to get me through a set of steps, but I wasn't listening. And I was willing to do whatever it took. I was literally willing to read your stupid-ass book and go to your stupid-ass meetings and do whatever it is that somebody would just please help me with my life. And what he told me to do was that I needed a safe place to stay, because he couldn't provide one for me. He had no space at this point in time. But he would bend the rules for me this one time, and I would get the next bed available, because he's never seen me this desperate, and he's seen me a few times. And so I went home, and I talked to my mom, and I listened to her yell at me for 2.5 hours while sitting on the couch, and I got to hear about every single bad thing I've ever done in my entire life, and the absolute best deal I could get out of her to not be kicked out of the house and have to live on the street wasn't so bad. My clean days in June, I mean, it was still sunny out, so I still didn't want that. My deal was that I was grounded at 30 years old. I was grounded to my room, and I could come out of my room if she wasn't home. Because if she seen me, heard me, smelled me, then that was it. I'm fucking done. Get out of my house. And she is the only person, the last person on the planet that was on my side. And I took it, man. I took the deal. That's all I had left. So I'm grounded to my room with my garbage bag full of clothes and my big book. She's not in recovery. I don't know why she left that book out. But there it was on my night table, just staring me in the fucking face. And I didn't have anything else to do, so I guess you might as well read it, right? So that's what I did. I started reading your guys' book. And this is not the first time I've been through the big book, right? Like, I've been to enough meetings before. You know, I've heard the readings. I've kind of dabbled in it a little bit. I try doing steps 1, 2, and 3 every day. Come on, man. And I got through to step 3, and my favorite part of the book, everyone's got a favorite part of the big book. And every time you go to a meeting, someone reads a different page, and it's like, oh my God, this is my favorite part of the book. But we all have a favorite part of the book, and mine is step 3. And I like to call it the second time they mention step 3. Right after how it works, it tells us that we thought we were at step 3, and then it gives us a bunch of examples of things, and then we get on to 2 pages later. It says we're now at step 3, and they ask us to pray. And as I'm getting up to this section, man, you guys are here. You guys have all done it. You get through it, and you start to kind of understand some shit. You're kind of identifying with some stuff. And I get to this second portion. It says I'm now at step 3, and I stop, and I'm like, didn't I already do step 3 2 pages ago? Like, fucking, what the fuck did I just miss here? And so I just stopped and I started again. Because I was desperate, man. I was desperate to not smoke crack again because it was burning my life to the ground. Like, drugs are bad, dude. I finally realized that I need to do something to please not do that again. So I read it all again. And it still kind of made sense. I was identifying with some stuff in there, and then I seen the difference. I seen the difference of where I thought I was at step 3 after A, B, and C, and where I'm now at step 3. And I got down on my knees, and I read the prayer with all the energy that I could muster, with every ounce of effort that I had in my life. I read that prayer, and I started on step 4 because I've done this once or twice before. I know just somewhere in the back of my mind something is telling me, is guiding me to what I need to do next. And man, I snuck out of my room. Please don't tell my mom. I hope she never reads this. I snuck out of my room, and I grabbed some paper and a pen, because that's what you need for step 4, and I wrote my first 2 columns out. Because I was kind of mad at my mom, even though she lived in the house, because she loved my brother more, and I was kind of mad at my fucking golden child brother, because he was never in trouble for anything, and my boss is a fucking asshole for continuously firing me all the time. I mean, I didn't have no Mr. Brown on my list, but there were some people I was mad at. And I've tried to step 4 before. You guys have probably tried to step 4 or 2 in your time, and you know how you're getting through those lists, and all of a sudden, it's really not that bad to kind of feel some of this anger. You're like, yeah, and this guy did this, and yeah, and that bitch did that. And like, that's what it was like for me. It was really good. I got through the first 2 columns like, no problem, man. It was a bit of an emotional upheaval, and I was pretty tired, and I passed out that night, and I woke up the next morning to the phone ringing, and it was Bill. It was Bill, and one of the gentlemen at the house actually left. He just bounced in the middle of the night, and he was true to his word, gave me the next bed. So he came in that day, and I, man, I went there. There was a man in there. He had almost 18 months of sobriety. I don't think I could imagine living in a recovery house for 18 months. But he was there, and I knew him from day one, and I didn't know what to do anymore. I was just happy to be there. You know, it wasn't the big ego show anymore of like, yeah, I'm living in a retreat, man, and I got all my meals made for me, and I just fucking do some vacuuming and have a good time. Like, I was just, man, I was really broken. Man, I was really broken, and just like, you know what they don't tell you when you sober up, man? You want a secret about what goes on after you get sober and you do some work on your life? They don't tell you about the feelings, dude. They don't tell you. Maybe it's to not scare you away, but I'm gonna tell you anyway. There's a whole shit ton of feelings that just come up. Probably I've been stuffing them down with crack cocaine for all these years, but I just couldn't hold it in anymore. You know, I talked to this guy and I just didn't know what to do, and I'm like, man, you got 18 months. Could you please help me? Like, I just need to get through today. I just feel like a bag of shit, man. And the idiot asked me if I pray. Who does that? And I said, no. What's the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life? Almost as dumb as I should go to a meeting. And he said, well, that's what I do, man. That's what I do. Maybe, do you know any prayers at all? And like, I didn't really realize that thing I read in the book was a prayer. I probably should have. But the only one I know to this day, the only one I know off the top of my head is the Metallica prayer, the little kid's prayer. Now I lay me down to sleep. Pray the Lord, this little kid. I don't even know the name of the prayer, but I know how to do those words. And he said, first he kind of laughed at me, and I'm a blubbering idiot, like, oh, I did this to my kid, snot running everywhere. And he said, you know, just say that when you go to bed tonight. Use all the energy you can, just say it as honestly as possible, and let's see what happens, man. And I swear to God, that was the greatest sleep I have ever gotten in my entire life, right? To this day, I got a little bit of time now, and I've never slept better than I did after that day. And I thought, man, maybe this can work. So you do the cycle, treatment center, right? Recovery house, and get up and do your chore and have some breakfast and go to group and go to meetings. And I was told regarding fellowships that I should enjoy all the fellowships. 12-step fellowships are fantastic, and you're going to need them. But, Scott, what you need to do is pick one. Pick one to do all your work at, right? Go to meetings, man. Like, you're going to hear a lot of things, some of it good, some of it bad, but pick a fellowship that you can identify with and do your work there. Man, how can I not pick Cocaine Anonymous? You got hot chicks and weirdos, right? So I did. And I started going to a lot more Cocaine Anonymous meetings. And you guys changed my life, dude. You know, my first job, I hadn't finished a set of steps. You know, we were having a Christmas party. We still didn't call it a holiday party. Nobody was calling us on traditions at that time. But we were having a Christmas party. And my first job, I showed up to early, because that's what you're supposed to do. I'm supposed to show up early. I'm supposed to help out, because that will save my life. And dude, at this point in time, I'm all in, dude. Like, if that's what you got for me, cool. I'm going to show up early. I'm just going to do what some old ass motherfucker tells me to do. And I'm going to stay sober. I'm going to have a good life. And so, his name is Stryker. He gave me a coffee can when I got there. And he said, I need you to go sit at the door and greet people and tell them to give you money. I'm like, what the fuck kind of job is this? I want to do some cooking or like decorate the Christmas tree or something. He's like, no, listen, I need you to do what you're good at, which is nothing except stealing money from people. So go and get money out of people's pockets, dude. And I'm like, fine, what am I supposed to tell him? He's like, I don't care what you tell them. Like, your job is to go greet them at the door, get their money. Shake your can there, Santa Claus. And so that's what I did. That's what I did. And I'm going to tell you something. I'm very good at separating people from their money. It's pretty fantastic when you get a bunch of people showing up and you just stick your foot across the door and you're like, hey, give me money. They're like, this is a free event. I'm like, I know. Put some money in the can. We need some money for area. And like, I didn't even know what that meant at the time. But they're like, cool, man. They put some money in the can, and they went. And I filled my can up full of fucking dollar bills, and I gave it back to him, and I could see the look on his face. He was thoroughly impressed with me. I don't know if I was the best guy ever, but I felt accomplished. I felt that I did something good for Cocaine Anonymous. And man, I've never looked back. I've never looked back. And I've hit all the check marks that you're supposed to hit in Cocaine Anonymous. I've finished my set of steps. I've been asked to be a sponsor and freaked out about it. And I've had to talk to somebody else and be like, I don't think I'm ready to sponsor people. And they said, listen, somebody has asked you. You are obviously ready. So I stepped on my dick a whole bunch of times and I probably sponsored terribly. I got in a relationship in early recovery. Anybody tried that one yet? Yeah? I hope it works out better for you than it did for me. But the thing that I did get out of that, fast forward to a year of sobriety. Some chick was kind of hoping I would get to a year so she could want to date me because, you know, I'm pretty cool like that. And we started dating after that, and I wasn't really doing a lot of service. My service was still go to an event and try to separate you from your money and goof around. Like, I really liked that. But I wasn't going to business meetings because I tried that once or twice. And people would argue about, we should buy 3 big bucks. No, we should buy 4 big bucks. And I'm like, I don't care. This is fucking dumb. Why are we talking about this right now? And so I just stopped going because it wasn't the fun portion of recovery. I just didn't go to your stupid business meetings anymore. And I started dating this chick, and she was a GSR of her home group. She was like going to area, and she just flat out says to me one day, she's like, what is the point of you having a home group if you're not going to go and be a part of it? I'm like, well, I go every week. I'm the chair sometimes. Like, what do you mean I'm not a part of it? She's like, the point is to try and make your home group the greatest one in all of the land. Right? And if you have a home group today and you don't believe your home group is the greatest in all the land, like, man, you need to go to your business meeting and you need to make some suggestions that you think are going to make that the greatest home group you have ever seen in your entire life. Because, dude, it exploded my recovery. It absolutely changed my life when I started paying attention as to what is going on. Where does the money go? Why are we buying big bucks? Holy fuck, it costs us money to buy some big bucks to give away to that new guy that face lights up because he just got a free big book and like, he can change his life now too. And like, it was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. So I started going to area because you get sucked in. Every other dude probably does the same thing. You get sucked into a service work at area because you're dating some girl and she goes there and I just want to spend time with her. That's the only reason I went. And they tried to give me some work to do. And I said, no, thank you. Until I said, fine, you guys aren't going to leave me alone. So my first job at area was outreach. Because I like people, man. I like people, and for some reason, You guys seem to like me too. I don't really get it most days, but like for some reason you seem to, and I seem to be good at that job, being able to connect people and have them want to be around. And man, there's so many things after 18 months of sobriety that you just can't miss. I really appreciate your guys' fellowship. It's been said that you guys have a really young fellowship going on here, and like I can see the fire. It is fucking amazing what you guys are doing here today. You know, I'm a little envious. We've grown a little bit stale. But thanks to you guys here in Southern Alberta, Northern Alberta, you guys are too, but thanks to you guys, I've had my, 4th or 5th awakening in recovery and wanted to be a part of again, right? There's no time left, and there's just so much story left to go. It's just like, man, it's so hard to give you recovery. Please keep doing the work. If you're doing something, please just stay on the horse, man. It is an amazing trip. And one last thing before I go. My friend Ravinesh and I have been together, for 10 years, but he has struggled for the past 10 years in recovery. And he would come in and I would still be there in the fucking meeting, the greatest home group in all the land. And he would come back and he would see me there every fucking week and he would just shake his head like, how is this idiot staying sober and I'm not? You know, and he had to do he had to have his own journey and try to work the steps and find God and all the rest of that. And he just took 2 years, a couple of months ago. And like, this is not his first 2-year cake, but it was the best one I've been to. It's been fantastic. And him and I can talk about things now like God that he has a really strong connection with. And I know I need a relationship with God. I know I need to build something greater than me because that book, as Scott sees it, fucking sucks and it doesn't work. And I've done some work in being open-minded and open to new suggestions from people have really helped me in my sobriety. And he told me something about a relationship with God recently that, man, I wish I'd heard that in my first year. So I'm going to give it to you today. If you are struggling with the whole relationship with God, how do I do it? What does it look like? It's really, really simple. Pretend you're trying to score with a chick or a dude. You're in a Cocaine Anonymous meeting, you see somebody hot, and you're like, oh yeah, I need some of that right there. And so you introduce yourself, and you kind of flirt, and you're talking to each other. Now you want to try to have a relationship with this person. What, you just talk to him, fucking shoot him a good morning message, and then you don't talk to him again for 3 days? Or you like fucking, I'm not saying send dick pics to God, but like, are you trying to talk to this person as much as humanly possible? Are you trying to grab their attention? Are you trying to have them in your life? And he just pointed out this small, simple fact to me that he has been trying to get God's attention. He has been trying to build a relationship. And I took that to heart. And I've redoubled my efforts there, not only with my higher power, but with my friendship with him. Because it's really easy for life to overtake things. And I think that it's difficult to start, but easy to maintain a relationship with your friends, with your family, with God, with your fellowship. And like, I don't care how you do it, but you gotta do it. This is where I grew up. Cocaine Anonymous has saved my life. It gave me a God, it gave me a recovery, it gave me so many things that I never would have dreamed of in that first year. I wrote the list. What do I want? And I fucking ripped myself off. After 6 months, I had no idea how much more I could have got. So if you feel that you need something in life, like, man, you were in the right place. And I'm really thankful that you guys asked me out here today. Thank you very much.